Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Few other venues on the planet can match the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for its history, spectacle, and sheer speed. And it's since its earliest days when it was famous for the Indianapolis 500. The race today might not pack the same punch that it did in its heyday, but it still remains one of the world's greatest racing spectacles, filling each May with a sense of drama and intrigue. We might not be in May, might not even be on the oval course, but I'm sure that intrigue, that punch will still remain here today. Welcome then to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior Series here live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sebastian Boscher-Williams. In the commentary booth once again we have Tim Cox and we have Jonathan Grabowski once again in the virtual production trailer. Qualifying underway, about halfway through the qualifying session. And Tim, wow, what a race we've got in store today. Indianapolis, it's so packed with history. And actually, we've got another sort of addition to that history on iRacing. We're here at the new updated circuit, different from the track that the drivers drove one season ago. So we've got a little bit more intrigue just to add into the mix.
That we have indeed, Seb. That we have indeed. As you mentioned, open qualifying, that is just underway right now, about halfway through. And I just took, telling you about what happened here last season. Bit of drama in the fact that we had one of the overall championship standings holder, Aero Nom. He pitted early due to a slight mistake by his part, and everyone else in the rest of the pack panicked. But this must be the quickest part way around the track, and everyone else followed suit, and that was at minute 5, I believe. So anything can happen out of this hour-long race. We've seen it time and time again, and it was absolutely great racing as well. So I'm sure we're going to have no different whatsoever here today, Seb.
I'm certainly sure that we're going to have exactly the same amount of intrigue. Hopefully the drivers might make it to 10 minutes without coming into the pits, but I wouldn't be adverse to it. We get a little bit more action, we get a little bit more intrigue for the viewers at home. 12 minutes gone in this qualifying session. Marco Pinheiro on provisional pole. His teammate Maurizio Naselli right behind him, 1.5 tenths separating the top two. And then Jorg Meine in third place. Jorg Meine has had such an amazing season so far this season. I'll tell you what though, before we get into the final moments of qualifying, let's bring you your points so far this season. It's fair to say, Tim, that Pinheiro and Naselli, they've been pushing each other all season long. And I think we can bring up your points, and Tim, you can talk us through it right now.
Well, Nasali, it's been pretty clinical for him all season long, and that's why he leads the championship way on 7.67 with his teammate Marco Pinheiro 90 points behind him in this last stage of the season. That's a big margin. And then Jason Green, he's had a good season in third at the moment, but still even well behind Pinheiro with Samals Overstreet, a great season for her in her first full season. Fritcher, Elson, West Andalo, and Bertoni rounding out your top 10. And then let's have a little bit of a look across into Spec 2, where, well, Favini, he's been there or thereabouts for many a season, but he's leading the championship this year, well, this season. So we have 4 championships per year. Well, 491, it's close, because Les Noy is knocking on the door in these last stages, only 5 points behind. And then they've got a half a margin, a big buffer between themselves and McCain, who's in third. Who's got Gibson not far behind him, and Jackson making up a trio of Brits, third for each fifth. Then Gary Walbolt 6th, then Justice, Barry Hansen and Vogler rounding out your top 10 in Spec 2. And finally into Masters class, well, Bjorg Marni, what can we say? He got moved across into Masters as he's become a more gentleman driver out of the Spec 1 category, and well, he's carried on that fight that he's had within Spec 1. And he's just transferred all the points across into Masters, and that's why he leads by such a convincing margin. Nearly 200 points, that's right, 200 over Chris Murakami, who's really dominated this championship over the last few seasons. Last season where he didn't run too many races. Baratsky third, then we've got Gradwell, Burkett, Bradshaw, Brewster, Mitchell, Nunes, and Antonio Rice, who's rounding out your top 10. Bit of a disappointment there for Antonio Rice. Expect to see him a bit higher up, but well, he hasn't quite taken part in every single race, so that's why he's a bit further down. Also notable mentions in Spec 1 as well. Yangshi Lin, he's well down, and Andres Bertoni. Sidrus Rally picked up his first ever victory last season at VIR. He's well down too. I haven't seen too much of those drivers this season, hence why they're a bit further down and not vying for the championships like we would normally expect them to be.
Yang Jilin unfortunately can't take part in the second half of the season. Delivered an amazing race, though, at Barber Motorsport Speedway. Did the no-stop strategy, really brought the excitement to that race. But you're right, you know, Bertoni as well. You can only imagine where Andreas Bertoni could be in the championship if he actually qualified. A driver that doesn't like really to come out in these 20 minutes of qualifying, decides instead to do it all under racing conditions. You have a look at the moment, Ian Gibson rounding the new turns 2 and 3. Of course, Tim, this is such a different layout to 1 season ago. We've got the new updated, you know, the more modern IndyCar layout, which sort of, as far as my recollection, as far as I remember correctly, we miss out 2 or 3 corners, and that's just going to mean that we have this long back straight up towards this hairpin, more opportunities to get those overtakes in, which should just make this race just extra exciting.
They certainly will. These cars love to slipstream. I mean, personally, I'm a bit disappointed we don't. So from this point onwards, we used to swing out onto the banking, carry all the way around onto the start, finish straight. That no longer happens, that you cut back in. Well, you did in the previous version as well, obviously. It's just pretty much a rescan and update of colours for a large part of this circuit. But we saw this corner here last season, which was a hotbed of action. We saw plenty of side-by-side action through here, and, well, for the old version, where you swing all the way around, then the long run through the 2 bank corners down to turn 1. And, well, they always used to be great action that, and these cars would have loved it with all that slipstream potential. But seeing Gibson comes across the line very slowly, trying to find a gap in traffic. Always a bit of a struggle, Seb, for these drivers. Big grid, big action in the weekend warriors, as Antonio Rice is going for a bit of a rotation there and onto the grass. Yeah, I mean, we've got, 33 set times so far. 3 drivers on top of that have had their times deleted, so that's 36. And 3 more haven't taken to the track. So we're up to 39 drivers registered for this session. And that's a bit of a low number.
Just goes to show how popular the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors series is. Hugely. I mean, last week, 1 week ago at Alton Park, we maxed out the amount of grid slots that you could have at Alton Park, 40 cars. just so popular, and you can see why. The racing is always close. It's always frenetic. It is such an amazing spectacle every Sunday night here on Apex Racing TV. Mark Carter heading towards the braking zone of turn 7. What can he do, I wonder? Currently finds himself in 8th place overall, but leading in the Spec 2 class, so will be on pole if he can continue or hold this place that he finds himself in at the moment. Another surprising aspect of this qualifying session so far, Tim, is that the gap between Panero and Naselli, they've been oh so close to each other all season long. 1.5 tenths separating the top two. Doesn't sound like a lot, but for these two who are oh so similar in terms of their pace and their abilities, that's quite a big advantage for Marco Panero at the moment.
It is a big advantage. I mean, generally they tend to help each other out in qualifying quite a bit. Not seeing it right now. But then again, into the pits, yeah, we go. Just practicing his pit entry is really crucial in this championship. Of course, as you mentioned, you do have to take a pit stop within the race. So you can gain a lot and lose a lot of time around that pit entry section. Also the pit exit too, so watch out for that one. So we won't see quite any shenanigans like we saw earlier this year in the NASCAR race that happened on the road course, where at the final restart, well, go and have a look what happened. It was a bit crazy with people completely cutting out big swathes of the pack by carrying straight on at turn 1 and onto the oval section. We won't see anyone doing that here today, and I mean, well, Samal's just slotting in between Naselli and Panero there. That's a little bit cheeky, and closing that margin up that Panero had over his, well, it was a 2 tenths buffer over his teammates, now down to a 10th over 2nd place. But closing part of qualifying, I think he's going to hold on to this one, Seb, because we've only got about 10 seconds left on the clock. We'll spill into a little bit of an overtime, but it's pretty much going to be it.
Yeah, nobody really improving in the top 4 at the moment. Samuel Dick, the 1:19 entry, he's out on the circuit. Hasn't set a lap time yet. So currently setting personal best for all the first 3 sectors. We have a look at the moment of Felix Samoes. He can, if he can improve, maybe find his way further up the field, maybe get a pole position. He crosses the line. Was faster than himself in sectors 1 and 2. Can he improve? Can he make his way on to provisional pole? And unfortunately for Felix Samoes, he will not be able to start from first. He'll have to settle for 2nd place. So Samoes' qualifying session done and dusted as we wait to see can anybody else get their times on the boards. Samuel Dick, I mentioned him, he was improving, headed back to the pit lane, so he will not get a lap time in this qualifying session. Charlie Vaccaro in the 921 car. Can he cross the line and improve on his time? I don't think he can. Marcus Burkett, a driver that hasn't set a lap time yet, but is currently showing out on the racing circuit. So he's decided to get a little bit of practice in, even if it doesn't help him for his overall race starting position. Yorgmani then will get the pole position in the Masters class. So too will Carter in the Spec 2. As McCain just following a car up ahead. That's the 922 of Ken Batley. And just get the sense that everybody is, Tim, immediately switched to race practice. They're starting to drive within the dirt. Yeah, they're really just wanting to almost to get this race underway. I'll tell you what, the last moment for Kane Latsky, he head up into 6th place overall. A good final lap by Kane Latsky, giving him a great opportunity to go into the race today and be fighting it with the upper echelons of the Spec 1 class.
As you say, Seb, you will be running in the DRCF for a lot of this race, and so it's crucial to get that that sort of program. I mean, these cars, they suffer to an extent from the inverted commas dirty air, but they're all about they're largely about the mechanical grip of these cars, and well, that's where the drivers will really be focusing it. Although they do, they are brilliant. Having said that, they are brilliant for slipstreaming, and I'm certain we're going to see plenty of that. We've got the long back straight, we've got the long front straight as well. 2 opportunities, twice the fun, twice the excitement, twice the drama.
That just sounds perfect to end your weekend. As the race session then gets underway and we can bring you your grid for round A of the Spec Racer 4 Weekend Warrior Series. Confirmation that Marco Pinheiro will start on pole. Alongside him will be Felix Samoes with his longtime rival Maurizio Nicelli starting in 3rd place. Jason Green lines up in 4th place. Jorgmani starts 5th and pole in the Masters class. Once again, Jorgmani showing how quick he can be. Watch out for him in the race. Kane Latsky starts in 6th place. Chris Murakami starts 7th. Mark Carter in 8th. Todd Hansen starts 9th with Megan Overstreet rounding out your top 10. Jesus Rodriguez starts in 11th place. Andrea Favini alongside him in 12th. Antonio Rees-Gennett starts 13th. With Kuzma Lesnoy in 14th place. Rafael Gallucci starts in 15th. Kurt Nunez alongside him in 16th place. Ken Batley starts 17th, just ahead of Tom Gradwell in 18th place. Ian Gibson starts 19th alongside Andrew Love. He rounds out your top 20. And Bradshaw starts in 21st alongside Jim Brewster in 27th. Jeff Cantor 23rd. Alan McCain in 24th place. Chris Montgomery starts in 25th alongside Gary Volbolt. Charlie Vaccaro in 27th with Gianni Longjin in 28th, right alongside all Masters 14th row. Sean Vincent starts in 29th, Brian Shaw in 30th place. Philip Berry just outside the top 30, he starts in 31st place. Stevie Ray starts in 32nd, Francesco Bernardo 33rd, Michael Viglini in 34th, Bob Kern in 35th, Marcus Burkett will start in 36th place. Fabio Andalo starts 37th with Samuel Dick starting 38th in, and Ken Poulin, a driver that is in the session but doesn't look like he will take to the start. So 38 cars then taking their way to the grid as we get going. A pace lap around the Indianapolis road course and just gives us a little bit of a breather, Tim, allows us to just sort of calm down and analyze what is going to be ahead of us. 40 minutes of absolutely frenetic racing, I am sure. But you mentioned the long straights, especially down to turn 1. Do you think starting on the pole might be a little bit of a disadvantage in this series, for this race, I should say? Because, you know, Nicelli and Green, they are going to have the slipstream from Pinheiro and Samoes ahead of them. So maybe, you know, starting 3rd or 4th is actually a better place than starting on the pole.
No, Seb. There's a valid reason behind this, because what we will have, and will work well for them, is the two teammates of Pinheiro and Nicelli are lining up on the right side of the grid, one behind one another. I believe what we will see, and we'll find out in half a lot's time if my prediction is exactly correct, is that Pinheiro will go early. He will get, like, catch everyone napping, open up a big enough gap. His teammate Nicelli will they'll work in coordination with slipstreaming. They'll bump draft on the run down to turn 1 to get away from the rest of the pack. Having said that, you know, Smiles is no slouch. Also, don't discredit Jorgmani. He's a wily old fox. He'll know, you know, spot exactly what's going on here. Also, Jason Green, but another bit of a, you know, I say veteran. He's not exactly old himself, but, you know, someone highly experienced in this series. He's been there, done it, seen it, got the T-shirt, and, well, he's worn it so many times that he's worn it out. And he'll sniff out what's going on. But I think we're going to see a bit of coordination here going on between Pinheiro and Nicelli. They'll go early, try and leave everyone standing, and push each other along down to turn 1 to secure 1st and 2nd place into turn 1. But I could be wrong, Seb, and it could all end in tears and they could end up in 5th and 6th. You just don't know at times.
Certainly do not know with sim racing, but as we head the way around turn 11 up towards the braking zone of turn 12, a really tricky braking zone with a high apex curve can really throw the cars out of shape. Watch for that when we get under racing conditions. So it will be Pinheiro. He can decide when we get this race underway. Felix Samoes starts alongside him. They all form 2 by 2 as we get ready to go racing once again this season. Pinheiro on pole. Samoa's second, Naselli third. Will they manage to stay in the same order that they start? Pinheiro has got an absolutely mega start, and so too has Maurizio Naselli. Got the move done before the green flag has even flown. So once again, Pinheiro and Naselli separated by no cars on the circuit. Behind them as we head towards turn 1, 3 wide, almost 4 wide, is Naselli, pulls out to the inside. He's going to go from third to first, and on the brakes goes Naselli, late braking, but oh, has he broken a little bit too late? He's on the grass. Pinheiro tries to go around the outside. They're still side by side, teammates racing each other. It's such a crucial stage of the race, and look at that, Felix Samoa's in the background. He's now trying to get involved in on the action. Jorgmani has a little bit of a look, but goes just a little bit wide. That's allowed Jason Green to get up and past Jorgmani. He's had a little bit of a slow start, currently still in 5th with Mark Carter starting behind him. He's had a rapid start up 2 places, trying to make that 3 as we head down towards the braking zone of turn 7. Is he going to go late under brakes? Is he going to find his way past Jorgmani? Yes, he is, or he tried. Jorgmani, though, holds firm, holds it around the outside. So Carter will have to settle for 6th place for now, but still leads that Spec 2 class. Megan Overstreet, she's lost 2 places on the start, but racing with Favini. Oh, Favini goes for a spin. Was that contact between himself and Overstreet? I wonder. Everybody, though, Tim checking up to avoid the spinning car of Favini, and heartbreaking for the Swedish driver. He's got it all to do in the next sort of 40 minutes or so.
Well, luckily span off to the inside of the track there, well away from the racing line, which enabled everyone to clear him and head on past. But my prediction came true. Our top 2, well, they worked together, they pulled away, but I'm amazed by the amount they've been fighting. As you can see just in the background there, pretty shot just how they were scrapping it out. Let's take a look at this replay, though. This is what's happened, excuse me, to Favini. So he ran it in a bit too deep. Oh, just got shouldered off there and just came off worse from normally a bit of contact. You can get away with that sort of side-to-side contact.
Yeah, really getting unlucky was Andrea Favini there. He's currently already made his way up into 34th place. Side by side, though, Gianni Longjin and Chris Montgomery, with Montgomery trying to go the long way around the outside of turn 2. And now under pressure is Longjin from Philip Berry. Montgomery, though, on the inside, side by side through turn 3 up towards the new chicane of turns 5 and 6. And Gianni just manages to stay ahead. Philip Berry demoted now down into 26th place as they all now start to form those long slipstream trains. I will get my words out at some point during this lockup there from somebody up ahead. Don't really want to be doing that this early on in the race. Want to save your tyres. It's quite intensive on the tyres, is this Indianapolis road course. Gary Walbolt trying to catch up to Ian Gibson. Megan Overstreet, she's lost 2 places, as I mentioned earlier, trying to find her way past Kuzma Lesnoy up towards the braking zone of turn 12. This is your battle for the lead. Marco Pinheiro once again leads from Maurizio Naselli. Green in 3rd. He's managed to find his way past Jorgmani and Felix Samoa's. Tim is really struggling. He's 1.3 seconds off the back of this pack. Do you think he's fuel saving, or do you think Samoa's is just not finding the pace that he might have had in qualifying?
This is going to evolve constantly, Seb. I don't think he's going to be that worried, to be fair. He's in this lead group, this breakaway group right now. That is the place to be. And we've seen it time and time again, whatever happens on the first few laps, they just leave it. They just don't worry. They work as a group to pull away from the chasing peloton and just, keep going further and further into this race. They'll leave each other alone. They know the fastest way around this circuit is just to work together, not overtake one another, to bump draft one another down the back straights, to open up that gap and then leave it down to pit strategy and a 5-way fight to the finish.
I'm most certainly into that. It reminds me of earlier this season in Watkins Glen when we had the old configuration. It was all about the slipstream. I think we had 5 wide at one point. We had 10 cars battling for the race win. Hopefully we might see something similar today. At least one can wish. Kane Latsky not had the best of starts, currently down 1 place. Mark Carter up ahead of him, a little bit tardy off the exit of turn 10. By the time they head their way through turn 11, Kane Latsky dispatches Mark Carter. And now Chris Murakami tries to do the same, tries to follow Latsky through, but Latsky goes a little bit deep through turn 12. And that's put him on the back foot. And Murakami still trying to find his way past Carter. Can't do it though through the final sector, and actually Murakami struggling at the moment, getting a little bit separated from that battling pair up ahead of him. And talking of getting separated, that really lead battle, that top 5, starting to depart from the battle behind between Carter and Latsky. That's still going on. Latsky being overtaken by Mark Carter. Carter being late, being bold under brakes, and I think he's managed to get that car slowed down as the camera pans across. Yes, he has. Mark Carter, Tim, was so late under brakes. I thought we were going to see him bouncing across the grass, but no, he made it stick and made it look fairly easy. But all while these two are battling, Carter and Latsky, you know, Samoes, Green, Marnie, Naselli and Pinero, they just get away, and it's sort of limiting their chances for later on in the race.
It is limiting them a bit, but I think we would have naturally seen this gap emerge anyway, and I think they know it themselves. I mean, yes, you've got, you know, some drivers in there. The drivers in this group are no slouches themselves, but it just seemed to tend to see it, and it's always around about this at the maximum 7 cars that break away. Normally about the 5 or 6 mark is the average, that lead group that breaks away. So the fact that we've got this second group, before then we've got another group behind them, which is a long train realistically, is this is going to be a change for this lead in this group. Is that, oh dear. Well, Lasky with the old hippie style livery, but there was no peace and love in that move, was there? Wow. Well, he's into the pits, isn't he? And that's not helping him whatsoever. As Murakami now takes charge of this group, and well, I say that, and all of a sudden, Todd Hansen and Tony Race go, well, thank you very much, we'll just head our way back. And they are through. And that is then, well, Murakami now remaining pretty much where he was, and he's heading through. Let's take a little look at the replay and see exactly what happened to Lasky. That's coming for us. Here we go. So, side by side, all relatively good and look completely fine. But, oh, he just got turned in on, didn't he, did Lasky? And that's where it all went wrong for him. Well, I say went wrong for him, it's well, Carter turning in on him there, but just tripped up over one another, and easy to do at that part of the circuit. I believe my colleague Seth Boschwell is just having a few connectivity issues right now. I'm sure he'll be back with us shortly. As we see, we're into, well, can you believe it already? 8 minutes out of the 40 complete here at Indy. Reaching the latter stages of the season as well to boot. Pereira leads from Naselli. Marnie, leader in Masters. He's third. Samals Green in fifth. Race is 6th overall. Second in Masters. Hansen leads Spec 2. He's 7th. Murakami, 3rd in Masters. 8th overall. Lesnoy, he's on the podium in Spec 2. 9th overall with Overstreet running up top 10. McCain is on the last podium place in Spec 2, but he's down in 13th, so some big gaps between some of our drivers right now. Let's focus in on this battle for 6th place. Rice leading it. Hansen second in this group. Murakami hunting him down, but they are backing themselves up a little now because Lesnoy, he's coming along for the ride, and he's bringing his friends Overstreet, Galucci, and Nunez all in that little group. They are a little bit spread out in comparison to the cars ahead, but they're coming along for the ride too. And what's going to be a freeway battle for 6th place? That's very quickly going to turn into 7th ways. Oh, up ahead, Marnie's had a bit of a charge, and he might have just caught it way off in the distance there. He's, well, not just past one car, he's past 2. He's jumped frogs, and Naselli and Panera into the lead overall. What a move from him that must have been. I'm guessing down the back straight on the brakes. Let's find out. So he's got a great run off the corner. He's catching, he's catching, he's catching. He's left it late. He pulls out to driver's left, and on the inside, that's for the 44 and Naselli, and then past Panero. Nicely turned York Marnie, and we have a Masters driver leading overall right now. It's been a very long time since we've been able to say that. I'm trying to think of when we last said that. It's been a, well, even struggle to think of that. I think the closest we come to that was when, Antonio Rice, producer Jonathan just saying here, Antonio Rice possibly being the one of those. I remember when he qualified about 4 seasons ago on front row at Daytona. As we've seen there, that is the Selly heading past Panera. Those two just swapping places a little bit, but nobody quite with an answer for Jorg Marni out of this group right now. He's actually... Well, he's opening up a bit of a gap here. This is a bit of uncharted territory. This is going to have... Let's see what Italians and the Selly and Panera are a little bit worried, a little bit concerned at this stage in the race. Quarter race distance complete now. We're going to start thinking about pit stops. We're not going to be too far away from that pit window. That's going to open up in the next sort of 5 minutes or so. Although the drivers, they could probably get away with pitting now. Well, we certainly saw it last season when the SRF weekend Morris visited Indianapolis, where pretty much by this stage we'd had most of the pack had taken their pit stops, so we know how deep they can go. And talking about going deep, that is McCain there in the 212 machine. He's on an absolute flyer as the Northern Irish driver. He's up 10 places already. Oh, well, there goes the curse of the commentator. Around he goes. Well done. You heap praise on someone. And I've even got sarcastics, well done, in my ear coming from our producer right now because, well, I'm sorry, Alan, because you were on an absolute fly. You're up 10 places, now only 3 places, but Flavio Andalo's just come, oh, wow. Throwing out the anchor there was Naselli and Panero. And Panero nearly into the back of his teammate there. The drivers do have one fast repair, but which would have been used there. But you always want to try and keep that one up your sleeve a little bit, just in case, because you never know quite what's going to happen in these races. But they're in. Well, it's a bit of an early pit stop. Lisnoy, Ken Batley in as well. And that group up in front, well, Marnie is now way ahead because he's got a 1.2 second advantage, which is out of the slipstream range for Samals and Green. They've been cut adrift. We'll have to work together to catch up with Marnie, who's on an absolute flyer now, and he needs to set some of his best laps ever around here to open up this gap. So when, wow, the double trouble that is the Selly and Panera come out of the pits, we're right on board with Marnie right now. He is well ahead of them after the round of pit stops, and he makes ground on them. Of course, those two will have taken plenty of fuel on board, so they will be running heavier, whereas Marnie's car is just getting lighter and lighter. Well, he's from a lighter starting point compared to those two, so hopefully he can set some brilliant times, and the overcut will work compared to the undercut, but let's find out, because it's going to be far away, I'd imagine, from Marnie pitting, as I do believe we've just... Ooh, he's nearly back in with us, this Seb Bosch. Well, there's a few technical difficulties on his end, but Marnie is still leading, and I tell you what, he's dropped 3 tenths to some miles. That is down to 9 tenths of a second, and himself and Green are going to be coming into slipstream range right now. You can see there from the graphic on screen, 3 tenths they took out of the Swiss driver last time around. Having said that, he had been pulling away from them in previous laps, hence why this gap is, but another 2 tenths already taken out at this stage because it's down to 8 tenths now. Samals, the Portuguese, is coming out like an absolute flyout right now, and well, this group shrunk down a little bit, hasn't it, since we lost 1 or 2 from it. Of course, Lasky being one of them. It won't be Mark Carter. We're on board with Todd Hunt and Murakami in front of us. That is Overstreet, and from behind us. Oh, I get a feeling we're about to see Murakami. Oh, interesting. Just elected to, I think, work together here a little bit, because he moved across the track and then slotted right back in behind Hansen. But then is elected, strangely, to, well, he's pretty much just slotted back in again behind him, but actually lost a bit of time in doing so. A little bit of a strange one, that one, for him. As you see him a bit further down the field now. There is Carter after his earlier issues. Well, he's further down the pack, needless to say, after it's coming together with Lasky. And Now he's in the whole world of pain. Stuck in this group, Bradshaw just in front of them. He's got Brewster, Gibson, and Darlow's on absolute fly. He's at 21 places. Some of them peel off into pit road there. I do believe my colleagues join me. Seb, you're with me?
I certainly am. You can't get rid of me that easily. Late move there as you head down towards turn 1. All action. There's been action both in the commentary booth and out on the racing circuit at the moment. Tim, side by side though, heading in to turn 1. That's going to be late. That's going to be close to... Oh, and spinning off and hitting the pit exit cone is Mark Carter. Heartbreak. Oh, got to be so careful there, Tim, not to rejoin into the path of a car doing or having their own race.
Well, as well, I was just keeping one eye while you were speaking there of where the other guys were on pit road. Luckily, they were just entering into their pit boxes, so last thing they would have wanted is to come out of the pit lane. And they've been presented by a car right in front of them. But this is your Marnie, and that is Samals now right onto his bumper, Seb. Only 2 laps ago, it was 1.4 seconds the gap. Now it's just 2 tenths.
Felix Samoas is also quick, isn't he? He knows how to run these races and currently making his way through the final sector, turns 13 towards the final flat-out right-hander of turn 14. Samoa's in that slipstream. Don't count out Jason Green as well in the background. He's involved as well. If these two continue to fight, if they start fighting, I should say, don't count out Green as pulls to the inside goes Felix Samoas. Yorgmani, will he defend? Will he want to cost himself any more time? And the answer to that could be presented on your screen. Yorgmani decides to let Felix Samoas go. So Felix Samoas is in the lead of this race. Second is Yorgmani. Jason Green in third is Todd Hansen. This is your battle though for fifth. Murakami and Overstreet. Reece Galucci all very close for comfort on the circuit. Pit stops happening up and down the field. Tim, this feels like a race of strategy.
I get the feeling it is, and I'm just trying to do a bit of mental maths right now of where Nicelli are, etc. Now, time spent transitioning the pit lane, including stopping, which has been around about for, on average, about 11 to 12 seconds, that sort of window set. It's costing the drivers 1 minute and 1 second. Now, they are moving for a lot of that, so it's not truly a minute I'll forget my words in a second. There we go. Yeah, they've moved. So it's not truly a minute lost in senses. Now, Panero versus Nicelli. It's about 40 seconds gap. So I get a feeling this is still very much in the grabs against the leaders. So that sort of time difference, it's still all up for grabs, and it could go either way between them when they come out of the pit lane. I get the feeling they still can be quite close together.
Well, it's the neutral among us. Loves the idea of having more drivers involved for the battle for the race when Overstreet rounds the final corner, turn 14 up towards turn 1, gets into the slipstream of Murakami. Murakami likewise in the slipstream of Todd Hansen. Megan Overstreet though goes for the move. Did Murakami just lift off the throttle? Does Megan Overstreet want to try and make it 2 from 1 corner? Dives to the inside. Hansen has seen her a little bit late, but Overstreet is going to go all the way around the outside of turn 2. That becomes the inside for turn 3. Supreme move there by Megan Overstreet. She gets the move and makes her way up into 4th place overall in this race. Of course, yet to pit, so positions may be a little bit misleading, but certainly making her way past Hansen. Did it seem there, Tim, that Murakami just lifted out of the throttle? He didn't want to be involved in the battle up ahead, and Murakami really playing the long game as Murakami now gets past Todd Hansen for 5th place.
I think very much so. Murakami, he's been around the block a few times in this championship, and he knows how to read the situations, and that's exactly why he did it. Just play the safe game. You know, we've still got plenty of racing. Let's go, Seb. We're not far off, but we still haven't reached that halfway mark in the race, so it's still all up for grabs. A lot can happen, and I'm pretty sure a lot will.
Not even, you're right, not even halfway through this race at the moment. Murakami, though, well, he wasn't looking so interested 1 lap ago at making or defending from Overstreet, but Murakami really attacking the braking zone into turn 12. Through turns 13 and 14 we go. These 3 on your screen yet to come in to the pits and decide to go at least for one more lap. Felix Samoes in the lead of this race. Another driver who hasn't pitted. What does Murakami want to do down towards turn 1? Does Chris Murakami want to send it to the inside? Does he want to lead this pack? In the background, Todd Hansen, he certainly wants to make his way past Murakami, but just has to back out of it in the end. There was the intention from Hansen, just not the execution. As we head the way through turns 3, this battle just festering away so nicely. As we head now through turns 4, up towards this long back straight. And Tim, do you think, you know, we haven't seen too many moves up towards turn 7 yet. Do you think that we might tend to see a little bit more as we get further on into the race, where the tyre wear maybe starts to play a bit more of a factor? Because I was expecting loads of overtakes into this corner, but just none have really seemed to materialise themselves yet.
Well, we've had a fair few. It's always a bit tricky because obviously it's hard to keep an eye on all the action with such a big grid. You know, we've had 38 cars because Ken Poulin unfortunately did not make the start and hasn't taken to the track. So had a couple of retirements. Well, sorry, no, just the one retirement. Kane Lasky being the only one so far. We lost in on lap 3. We're currently just about to head on to lap 14. So to give you some sort of perspective to how long ago that one was. But I mean, the tyres on these, they'll last plenty well. We've got low track temperatures as well, Seb. You know, you're talking 27 degrees Celsius, which is around about 74 Fahrenheit, I believe. So it's not exactly cold, but it's not exactly on the warm side. So it shouldn't play too much of an issue because the ambient temperature as well, that's pretty clear. And it's in mid-afternoon, so if anything, the track temperature might creep down by a degree or so as we move on through the race. So I don't think the drivers have too much to worry on that side.
And Bruce doesn't have much to worry about at all. It makes his way past his fellow Masters class driver Jim Brewster, although those two side by side heading into turn 1. Bradshaw just edging out Brewster, so make that position back after the battle towards turn 1. But that still will continue through the braking zone of turn 3. Now foot very firmly flat to the floor through turns 5 and 6 up towards turn 7. Brewster is in that slipstream. He can start gaining in on his fellow Masters class car. If Brewster decides to send it to the inside, certainly looks that way from that camera angle as they apply the brakes. A little bit of a twitch there from the 933, a lock up though from Bradshaw, but Bradshaw stays ahead of Jim Brewster, but so close for so close as they head through turns 9 and 10. Great racing up and down the field so far in this spec. Racer Ford Weekend Warrior Series. This is Jesus Rodriguez, currently in 8th place at the moment. Tom Gradwell right behind him in 9th. Kurt Nunez as well makes it a clean trio of drivers interested in that 8th place spot. As we head on to the banking again. And I think, Tim, Marco Pinheiro might have had some form of off-track. He certainly lost a couple of seconds or so out on the circuit.
He has dropped a bit of time to his teammate. Well spotted there. Let's take a look. This is probably... Oh, wow, that was a bit of a tank slapper and a bit of a twitch there for the 16 of Pinheiro. Luckily, he held it together, but that's where he lost all that time, where it was a long trip across the grass before he met back up with the tarmac once again. Not really helping himself. He's lost about 2.5 seconds in doing so. But I believe the gap's pretty much maintained. So looking at our lead group, who we haven't had anyone pit first through 15 inclusive. Other drivers yet to pit are Gianni Long in 18th. I was going to say Samuel Dick, but he's just come in. He's currently in 21st. We've got some 17 places. We're going to drop a fair few of those. Big shout out to Andalo, currently now in 21st. He's up 16. That's a great drive from him, and I think he's going to gain a few more. He's already pitted after the round of pit stops, so it's an absolute flyer as a Brazilian. But you see the positions gained there by everyone right now. A few of them are up for change, Seb, and I don't know, this battle up front won't go away, will it? There's these two groups where we've just been jockeying for position all race long, and it's been absolutely fascinating to watch so far, Seb, and Just having a bit of a look. Dick's just come out. He's up 6 places, so well, it's definitely rising up. So that's definitely what he would have wanted. And well, Seb, it's all gone a bit quiet. And if I've learned anything from covering years of weekend warriors, that well, this is the calm before the storm. It's all about a kick-off in a few laps' time.
That does very much sound like the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior Series. It does feel like the calm before the storm. As we have a look, Chris Murakami trying to find his way past Megan Overstreet. 12.5 seconds adrift of that battle for first place. It's Marty in green, really almost inhabiting the same place on the circuit. Less than 0.8 of a second separate your top three. And then we have this gaggle of cars, 4 cars really close for comfort into the braking zone of turn 7 we go. Once again, for the 16th time of asking, nobody in this gaggle at least decides to make a move. Bradshaw and Jim Brewster, they're still having a battle just outside the top 10 for 11th and 12th. And now look at this, Andrea Favini, he's decided to get in on the action as well as they make their way through the S's section after that turn 7 braking zone. Bradshaw once again leads Jim Brewster, but Favini really close to the back of Jim Brewster. Brewster has gone from being able to attack and put pressure on Bradshaw to being under pressure from Favini. Towards the braking zone we go. Still can't make the move as we see Gallucci and Hansen now head into the pit. So we're starting to have some more pit stops. Almost, Tim, feels like we're in the second wave of pit stops. We had the early stoppers, and now we're having the drivers who have gone as much as they can, as long as they can on their fuel, and having to come in to get to the end of the race. Felix Amoes still leads this race, though. Jorgmini in second for those pit stops. Do you think, Tim, that we'll start to see, you know, our leading sort of top 10 into the pits in a lap or so?
I think they can go a bit deeper here, Seb, potentially. It all depend on how much fuel they took on board at the start of the race. But I think they can go a few more laps longer. Didn't really get the true indication when we visited last season due to everyone pitting so early and a bit of a flap and a panic. But interesting to see where they do. I'm still half trying to keep an action there. One eye on what's happening on the screen, the other eye on our live timing software to see whereabouts the two protagonists of the Naselli and Pinero are. And, well, if anything, Seb, I think it's ever so slightly extended by, about half a second, their gap. Well, there you go. That is the question. Samels and Marnie, they're all in. Green carries on, though.
Green, of course, has been that third man in that pack for a few laps or so. Maybe he's just saved a little bit more fuel than the rest of the drivers. Megan Overstreet as well. She heads to the pit lane. Chris Murakami, interestingly, does not. Jesus Rodriguez, another driver that doesn't need to come into the pit. So really interesting divergence in strategies here today. And the other question is, where will Naselli, where will Pinero come out in all of this? Marco Pinero, after that spin, that trip across the grass, already behind his teammate. Naselli really not having the pace in the second phase of the race, as we see who will come out in the race lead. Will it be Naselli and Pinero, or will it be Samoes and Miney? Felix Samoes onto the pit exit, so too is Jorg. Miney looks fairly on as even between where those two came into the pits, so the gap between them when they exit. Felix Samoes has got the run down towards turn 1. He can cut out the inside line. Oh, Pinero and Naselli also close for contact there. It's around the outside goes Jorg. Miney tries to at least, can't find his way past Naselli. Can't find his way past Pinero, and Naselli ahead of Pinero. Pinero ahead of Jorg Miney, but Felix Samoes, Tim, well, he's picked the pocket of almost everybody. He's had a superbly quick pit stop, 3 seconds ahead of the pack, and currently finds himself heading down to turn 7 without any form of threat behind him, because it's all going on about 3 car lengths behind him.
Where he made up the time service, we got Jason Green into the pits, was he was stopped for about the same length of time as Naselli. However, he was a second quicker transitioning the whole pit lane. So he absolutely nailed the entrance. got the car stopped, you know, as quick as possible into his pit box, and got away as quick as possible. That has been the difference here for the Portuguese driver. As we've also got Jesus Rodriguez, he's come into the pits too now. So what has Green done? Has he done enough? I'm trying to work this one out, so I think he's going to definitely come out amongst the Sully, Panera and Marnie, I've got the feeling. I don't think he's really done enough to, close in on Samaus. But Samaus, even so, he's come back out and he's absolutely nailing it, and he's pulling away once again from these guys behind. He's flying as Green's on his way out. Ooh, I'm trying to have a look. Marnie has just come past him, and he's going to come out, right in amongst this squabbling group as Marnie progresses up one place. Oh no, he's going to come out in front of him.
So going one lap longer has allowed Jason Green to come out in second place overall once the pit stops have all played themselves out. The only driver, at least in the top 5, yet to make their stop is Chris Murakami, who goes for one more lap at least. But interestingly, Naselli had a really poor start-finish straight, ended up losing 2 places to both Marco Pinheiro and Jorg Meine. What can Meine do? Can he make his way past Marco Pinheiro? Pinheiro just doesn't look that quick, Tim, at the moment. He looks a little bit under pressure. He goes really deep through turn 7. Thought he was almost going to replicate what he did a few laps ago and make his way on to the grass. As we have a look briefly from the gearbox camera of Jorg Meine, really showing that Naselli is still in this battle. He's still close for, or too close to comfort if you are a Jorg Meine fan, as finally we see the 901 car of Chris Murakami head towards the pit lane. I'm not quite sure that his team will remember what that car looks like. It's been 31, almost 32 minutes since they last saw it, and Murakami, the master with fuel saving, and I wonder if that helped him, because it does seem, Tim, like the overcut is the better strategy here today, rather than what we normally see is the undercut coming in a little bit earlier, running in clean air. It's all about just really running your own race, and that is how drivers are managing to make up positions at the moment.
Normally is the case, especially with these longer tracks. It's easier to come out into fresh air compared to some of the smaller tracks that we visited on this championship, as Murakami just on pit exit, so he's going to come out, well, he's managed to get a bit of a jump on everyone else, and he's back out onto the front of the group behind. Oh, yeah, see, there goes Antonio Rice. It's really slow just getting away there. I'm not sure, was it just me?
No, he did look really slow. We're all agreeing with you here in the commentary booth, Tim. I wonder if he was in the wrong gear. Very unusual or very tardy pit exit for Chris Murakami. Talking of drivers that have had a little bit of an issue, I'm not quite seeing Megan Overstreet out on the circuit at the moment. Is Marco Pinheiro loses 2 places. Jorg Meine and Naselli both getting past him, and Pinheiro looks so far away in the distance from that camera shot. You can't even see the number 16 car, and I wonder, Tim, has Marco Pinheiro once again made a mistake? He's been so consistent so far this season, and it's really come undone for him here today. And I think Megan Overstreet might have had a pit lane issue, being told in my ear, which, if true, Tim, will be disaster for her as well. You know, both Overstreet and Pinheiro have been also consistent this season, and for it to come undone for them in 2 different ways today is absolutely heartbreaking.
I do wonder if it's some, I think she had a bit of contact earlier on, and could have been where she didn't have a fast repair ticked to obviously transition through the pit lane as quickly as possible, and that's what slowed her up, where she's had to sit there and wait for the repairs to be done. If so, that's absolutely gutting for Overstreet. Started 10th, now down in 26, so down 16 places, Seb. Not a good day at the office for her.
Not a good day whatsoever. Been a good day though for Jesus Rodriguez, up 2 places, make that 3 as he sends it to the inside of Kuzma Lesnoy. Gets the move done before the braking zone. Oh, that's a late send from Gallucci. There's a car spinning off as well, just for good measure. But Lesnoy under pressure from Gallucci. Gallucci on the inside line through turn 2. And Lesnoy lets Gallucci by. Lesnoy just wants the points. He's currently the lead in the Spec 2 class. Although with how the rules are made up for this season, the further you finish up the field, regardless of who is around you in terms of classes, you gain more points. So it is beneficial for Lesnoy to fight Gallucci in terms of his own championship standings, but you also, well, the saying goes, to finish first you must finish, and that sort of felt like that was Lesnoy's mantra heading around turn 2. He was at the car spinning. Was it a lapped car?
Yes, it was. It was. Yeah, it was the 319 Vaglini who was spinning. I just managed to catch it out of the corner of my eye for you there, Seb.
Oh, thank you, Tim. I don't know how you do it. It's all a blur at the moment for me, but Lesnoy starting to be caught, as you saw by that graphic, by Todd Hansen behind him. That is a battle in Spec 2, so that does have implications for the Spec 2 class and for their championship. So Lesnoy with it all to do with just under 5 minutes to go. And actually Gallucci, Tim, escaping up the road, not really giving much of a benefit to Lesnoy in terms of slipstream. Is Rodriguez and Gallucci, they're having a battle. We saw how late under brakes Rafael Gallucci went into turn 1 lap ago and tries to replicate it on Jesus Rodriguez. Gallucci is so controlled under braking. He's just got that depth touch. It's so impressive to watch, and that's allowed him, Tim, to get up into 8th place.
Easily done there by the American. It looked like Charles played, but it's not done and dusted, is it? Because Jesus Rodriguez is giving this a good old go as he bounces across the curb there, Seb. That's going to kill off some of his momentum, but he's going to have this slipstream down the back straight, so he will close up a bit once again. And so Lesnoy's not far behind either. This is going to be treacherous inside the last 4 minutes. That's Antonio Race.
Oh, Antonio Rees, he was doing so well. He was in a little bit of no man's land. He had nobody too far behind, but ends up falling off the circuit. And I wonder if this is why you see Murakami in the background, but not really close enough to provide any issue. So heading to turn 7, he's just lost the rear under braking, a little bit too much speed in, and Ty is just unable to cope with the demand that Rees was asking for. And so Antonio Rees, luckily for him, only loses 1 place, but has that Gallucci-Rodriguez-Lesnoy battle right behind him. So it's certainly not over for Antonio Rees. And he's got to sort of almost switch on his racing brain once again in a short matter of time, Tim, to really hold his 7th place. Talking of racing brains, York, Miney, Green and the Selly also close for comfort. This is going to be a battle that will go to the end of the race, I am sure. But Nicelli, he's just looked a little bit out of sorts today. I mean, he's still been, remarkably quick, currently in 5th place, but just not as quick as we've come to expect from Nicelli. As Gallucci, I think, has had a little bit of an issue as well. But yeah, Tim, Nicelli just not with it this weekend.
No, the early stop clearly has not worked for himself and Pinero. Hence why they've fallen down through the order, so Pinero had his own issues as well. But I mean, Smalls and stuff, he's been in a different class of his own, because if you look at when Nicelli's come out, he's come out with the controls that he was battling with, Marnie, Green. What can we say?
So close for contact, side by side, 3 wide is Antonio Rees getting all out of shape, as this involving now the Spec 2 leaders as well, as Gallucci sends it to the inside of Lesnoy and Gallucci side by side through turn 13. Through turn 11 we go, getting all too far ahead of myself. Hansen though leads. This is crucial for Hansen, needs to escape. It's to the inside there. Gallucci has a look on Lesnoy, can't find a way through. And Rees, he's had a disastrous time at turn 7 today, losing a whole chunk of positions. Gradwell also making his way past Antonio Rees, and that is a position in the Masters class. Tim, they were 3 wide there for a moment, and they didn't make contact, but that certainly was closer than I think any of them would have wanted, certainly at this late stage of the race.
Well, it all looked like it was okay, and then the Antonio Race got a bit out of shape, and they all bunched them up together, and cars scattering left, right, and centre. It caught me unawares, but this one isn't going to look. Did you spot that, Seb? If you saw your commanding close right up onto the back of Green, I think he knows full well that they can't catch Phyllis Mouse. They're not going to make up 3 seconds, because the white flag's going to be on the air when they cross the line. So This is all about a battle for second place now between Green, Marnie, and Naselli, because Fenarius dropped a while back. He's about 5 seconds behind those three. So I think Marnie was just backing it up, waiting, because he knows that if he's in front coming onto this last lap, he's probably going to lose it. So being in second is the better place to be, even if it means sacrificing the great run you've just got out of a corner and the overtake you could possibly make.
Wow, strategy at play here as we go white flag, 1 lap to go here at the Indianapolis Road course. Felix Samoes comfortably in the lead, 3.3 seconds separates himself. This is, though, the battle for second, third, and fourth. Jorgmani has a little bit of a look down the inside on Jason Green into the braking zone of turn 1. Naselli feels like a little bit of a dark horse in this race. If he can make his way up into second, he'll finish where he started. Of course, that first lap, or that first that early pit stop, I should say, really hindered Naselli's race today. Green, though, makes his way through the chicane for the final time. This is one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit. This, though, is the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit, and it's Hansen and Lesnoy. They're in a battle for the overall race lead in Spec 2. As wide goes Lesnoy, and Gallucci finds his way through as well. And I wonder, was that was that Hansen maybe just making or trying to find his way past, or trying to let everybody pass, but Hansen's still losing a whole chunk of time. Rodriguez making his way through as well. And oh, is he out of fuel? I wonder. He is. Todd Hansen, he's mistakenly surely filled 1 lap less fuel than what he needs. This is the battle for second place overall. Jorgmani to the inside gets past Jason Green. Green doesn't have that much left in terms of being able to make his way past Jorgmani. Marnie has played this absolutely perfectly. Timmy picked up that he waited until the final line. That's a 914 car going slow. That's Reese. I don't think he's got enough fuel to take it across the line. Felix Samoa certainly does. Wins here today. Jorgmani in second. Jason Green rounds out your podium places, with Maurizio Naselli having to settle for 4th place. This, though, is the battle further down the field. Lesnoy and Gallucci. Gallucci on the inside. Lesnoy trying to hold it all the way around the outside. And it will be Kuzma Lesnoy in the lead of this battle. 8th place for him. Gallucci, though, has a better run, has the slipstream. Can he make his way towards the line? Can he maybe make his way up into the top 8? Lesnoy just holds firm, and Gallucci will be in 9th place. And Darlow and Kurt Nunez, more battles heading to the line, and it will be Nunez just edging out and Darlow. But Tim battles up and down the field.
Seb, I just want to mention 13th place, Favini. He spun out early on, literally lap 2, was pretty much into the back of the pack to recover all the way back up to 13th. 1 place down from where he qualified is an astounding result, and he's just gone about doing it quietly. We haven't really shown him on camera. He's just picked his way through the pack bit by bit, and what a drive from him.
It certainly was. Certainly, you know, he was not only facing the wrong way, but he was in the wall at one point at the start of the race. And you're right, a great recovery drive from Favini, as we see. And Darlow, at the moment, they have crossed the finish line, and I think they were hoping maybe to take part in the customary destruction derby at the end of the race. But I wonder, Tim, I think drivers were very, very close to running out of fuel today, as we see Ken Batley really proving my point, is stranded on the exit of what would be, well, in NASCAR too, on the oval circuit, but on the exit of turn 10 on the race, or the road track, I should say. Baglini in 33rd. Drivers really struggling, Tim, to finish the race on their allotted fuel. Confirmation, though, that Felix Samoes wins here today. 3.7 seconds separates himself and Jorgmani, who made the move on the final lap in towards turn 12 and gets that 2nd place. Jason Green, he'll be disappointed, will have to settle for 3rd. And Maurizio Naselli not having the race that we expect from him, finishing in 4th. Likewise, Marco Pinheiro, unlike him, made some mistakes, will have to settle for 5th place. Chris Murakami finishes in 6th. Jesus Rodriguez in 7th place. Kuzma Lesnoy in 8th place, and the winner in the Spec 2 class, Rafael Galucci, finishes 9th, with Tom Gradwell rounding out your top 10. Kurt Nunez just outside of the top 10 in 11th place. Flavio Andalo in 12th. Andrea Favini, mentioning his great recovery drive, finishes in 13th place. Ian Gibson finished in 14th. Jim Brewster in 15th place. Marcus Burkett in 16th place, just ahead of Andrew Love. He finished in 17th place. Adam Bradshaw rounds out your top 18. Gary Volbo in 19th, with Megan Overstreet. She had a great opening few laps, but I think had a little bit of damage when she came into the pits, had to wait for that to be repaired, and finish in 20th place. Chris Montgomery in 21st. Sean Vincent finished in 22nd place. Brian Short in 23rd. Charlie Vicaro in 24th place. Jeff Cantor finished in 25th. Philip Berry just behind him in 26th place. Stevie Ray, good race from him, finishes in 27th. And Johnny Longjin in 28th place. And the final driver to be on the lead lap, Todd Hansen, finished in 29th. Cam Batley in 30th. Samuel Dick in 31st. Antonio Rees in 32nd. Francesco Bernardo 33rd. Bob Kern in 34th. And then the first of our retirees, Baglini, Carter, McCain, Latsky and Paul Lynn, who actually did not take to the start of the race. But Tim, wow, what a race that we saw here today. We might not have had the excitement of one season ago when everybody came into the pits early, but we still had a little bit of pit stop drama and still had a little bit of fuel drama. What an amazing race once again.
I think quite a few of the drivers weren't expecting to go to that one extra lap. It was cutting it a bit fine. But the pace of Felix Miles really got across the line earlier, and yeah, I mean, it went from one lap longer, and a fair few drivers caught out. But big shout out to Flavio Darlo, up 25 places. Marcus Burkett, he was up 20 as well. Those are the two real standout performers here from day. Of course, and Favini, as we mentioned, who dropped all the way to the back and then managed to recover it all the way back up to 13th. Great stuff from him.
Great stuff indeed. Great stuff from the driver who finished in first place, Felix Samoes. Felix, welcome once again to the commentary booth. A supreme race by yourself. Really had the pace and the strategy as well. Be honest, were you expecting to have a 3-second lead when you exited the pits?
Hello, thank you for. No, to be honest, no, I did not. It was when I saw them going into the pits, I thought to myself, okay, this is not the right strategy for this race, because pitting early in this track, it's a good strategy when there is a big group fighting between themselves, which makes people lose time. So if you stop before, then you can do a few laps in clean air and you're faster, and you can then do the undercut after the pit stops, which was not the case. Then there was just 3 of us. We worked together. We managed to keep a decent pace, and I believe probably Marco and Maurizio had to pass slower cars, which slowed them down. So as you said, when I came out of the pits, I was surprised that I was like 2.5 seconds ahead, something like that. I still wasn't sure I could keep ahead and maintain the distance, but after a couple of laps I saw that they weren't catching, so it was just a matter of not doing mistakes and try to do decent pace, which I think I did quite a few decent laps. And yeah, and then Marco also spun, and yeah, I mean, in the end it went good for me.
It certainly looked that way. I do believe you had the fastest lap of the race as well, so really proving that you were the master of this Indianapolis road course. Of course, it's a new updated track. How do you prefer it to the old version, or do you maybe miss the older version that we used to have in iRacing?
To be honest, I don't race this track that often. It's just last time was with the spec races, and I have to admit I don't remember what the differences are. So yeah, that's it. I like the track, so the layout, it went good for me.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, it's not one of the most commonly used circuits on iRacing. Well, Felix, congratulations on your race win. It was thoroughly enjoyable to watch you out there today. Before we let you go and celebrate, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to at all?
as usual, to Stevie for organizing the race, all the other drivers for making these such fun races, the sponsors for paying the bills, and you guys, the commentary you guys do is great. So it's always fun, if not racing, at least watching.
Thank you very much, Felix, and once again, congratulations on your race win today.
Thank you.
Tim, have you managed to find any other driver out in the paddock at all?
I most certainly have managed to grab Jorg Marnie. Well, Jorg, I mean, the Swiss are renowned for your precision timepieces, and well, I think you pretty much, timed that to perfection today. We caught you on the back straight on the penultimate lap, where it seemed to be, you were just sitting behind Jason Green. You could have gone for the overtake, but you chose not to. Was that intentional, knowing that you then, you'd have a better chance being third place effectively, and being able to overtake on the final lap?
Good evening, first of all, gentlemen. And yes, it was purpose. And,
There we go. Could read you like a book there, Jorg. It was, yes, it was nice and obvious. I mean, I don't blame. I mean, having said that, I mean, you led for a while overall as well, and I mean, were you surprised to see Naselli and Panero coming in so early? I mean, you guys pitted 10 laps later than what they did.
actually, yes, all three of us were surprised when they entered the pits. We thought, okay, if they're going to have traffic after the pits, that's good for us, because we did not harm each other, we worked together. But because for once, we don't want to have Marco and Maurizio just 3 seconds ahead of us. And that's why we went together, and I pushed really as hard as I could in the lead. But I knew that Felix has a better pace than I did. And after the pit stop, when I saw that Felix is just passing Marco and Maurizio, I was happy already. And I knew I'm not far off. I can catch Maurizio and Marco as well. And yeah, it was fun. It's not my favorite track though, but yeah, it was fun.
Definitely. And I mean, having said that, coming into this round, I'm sure if someone had told you you're going to finish second, you would have taken that definitely. And another win in Masters, where you've really owned this, since you've moved across into Masters, you've really owned the championship, haven't you?
Yeah, even we tried to work always together, we old backs, especially Antonio and Chris and the other ones. And we tried to show the young lads that we still are here. So I think we managed that quite well. I was a bit sad that Chris could not catch up our tail, because he got a little bit in traffic. They were fighting too much in the back, and that's why we could break the toe.
Well, great to hear from you as always, Jorgen. Well, congratulations on the second place, the win in Masters. That is Jorg Marnie. Seb, I think over to you for the next one.
Yeah, we've managed to catch up with Jason Green, your third place finisher. Jason, welcome to the commentary booth. That was a great battle towards the end of the race with yourself and Jorg Marnie. Jorg just about managed to get the better of you into the final sort of major braking zone, but looked like a really fun race out there today.
Yeah, it was incredible. I made a little mistake in the final turn, got a little wheel spin, so I wasn't able to draft past him on the front straight, but yeah, just really happy, and I think a little lucky to end up where I was.
I think you had the pace. I mean, it goes back to qualifying when you were. I think you qualified in 4th place. What was your strategy for today after lining up in 4th? Was it all about sort of attacking as much as you could and trying to go forward in the race, or was it all about just preserving your place and playing the long game, as it were?
Especially, well, for the first stint, yeah, it's more about playing the long game, making sure I don't lose the draft, which I almost did a couple times. But in the second stint, it was more about getting a gap from the pit stops, and then trying to attack and maintain wherever I was.
And then, we've spoken to both Felix and Jorg, who said pitting early just wasn't the right strategy here today. Do you agree with that? Do you think that both
Mm-hmm.
Naselli and Panero, do you think they just pitted too early? Was it the better strategy to stay out long?
Well, I guess it turned out to be that way. Yeah, it all depends on what the back end of the pack is doing. The loss in pit time, I think, is more like 30 or 40 seconds. So if everybody's, keeping it together, pitting early could have worked. But I guess they came out in traffic and they lost too much time.
Well, they certainly did. Well, congratulations, Jason, on your third place today. Before we let you go and celebrate your podium, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to at all?
Oh yeah, I would love to thank Stevie Ray for organizing the league. It's put together a really good group of guys, and thanking everybody for everybody else racing, and of course y'all for doing an amazing broadcast. Really adds a lot to the league.
Oh, thank you very much, Jason. And once again, congratulations on your podium place. And we'll see you in 1 week's time when we stay in the US as we head to Road America.
Yep, can't wait.
Thank you very much, Jason. And well, Tim, as I mentioned, we're heading in 1 week's time to Road America, another staple of American race circuit. It's going to be utterly enthralling and maybe a little bit of a slipstream game as well. We've got that long run down towards turn 5 and of course, through the kink up towards Canada corner. Going to be really exciting, I reckon.
It's I mean, these cars absolutely love it around Road America. It does get a bit drawn out at times due to that track normally because it's layout 4 miles long, just favour the more powerful cars. So but because they've got a long slipstream periods, the run down to turn 1, the run down to turn 5, run through the kink to Canada corner. They run incredibly well around there, so it's gonna be feisty, it's gonna be entertaining. It's just gonna be the average night in Weekend Warriors.
Oh, it certainly will be. Well, that's all we've got time for here today. My name has been Sebastian Bosch Williams. Alongside me in the commentary booth has been Tim Cox. We've had Jonathan Grabowski doing a wonderful job once again in the virtual production trailer. Thank you all so much for tuning in here tonight. We'll see you in 1 week's time as we stay in the United States as the SRF Weekend Warrior Championship heads to Road America.